We're living through a shift that is so massive, it's not really about what AI can do anymore. It's about what we are becoming. In this explainer, we're going to dive deep into the work of Professor McCawley and explore a whole new way of thinking for this wild new era.
And this quote from Professor McCawley, it just hits the nail on the head. He argues that we're at this incredible threshold moment, a point where it's not enough to just learn new skills. No, we're being asked to fundamentally transform who we are.
Okay, to really get a sense of the scale of this change, think about this. The Gutenberg Bible, which literally kicked off the first Renaissance, held less data than a single photo on your phone today. Now compare that to modern AI, which operates on a scale that is millions of times larger. It's almost impossible to comprehend. And that's exactly why McCawley says we are right at the dawn of a second Renaissance.
So yeah, just like the printing press, AI is one of those massive threshold moments. McCawley argues this whole new renaissance really got started with what he calls the Sora moment. That's the point where AI finally broke out of its abstract little world and stepped into our physical one.
So for the longest time, you can think of AI as this brilliant scholar, right? But it's locked in a dark room. It can process language, but has no clue about physical reality. The Sora moment is when AI got eyes. It learned to see and actually understand the visual world, from the way water falls to the expressions on our faces. And then it got hands through robotics, and it started to interact with a world of, as McCawley puts it, real friction.
Okay, so if the world is changing this fast, how on earth are we supposed to adapt? McCawley offers a framework to help us navigate this. And it's not some new piece of tech. It's an ancient map for consciousness, the mandala. He uses it to represent 5 totally distinct modes of thinking that we all need to start cultivating if we want to become more fully human.
All right, first up on this mandala, we've got sight. And this is the scientist in all of us. This is that lens of objective analysis, The part of us that dissects information, that finds patterns, and seeks out hard empirical evidence. It's our ability to just look at the world with a critical, discerning eye.
Then we move to sound, which is all about the poet. And this isn't just about hearing, it's about feeling. It's the ability to grasp rhythm, tone, all that emotional subtext, and the deep metaphorical meaning that's hiding just beneath the words. It's about being able to hear the song of a whale in an ocean of data.
After that comes touch, and this is represented by the monk, or maybe an artisan. This is all about embodied wisdom, the kind of intelligence that only comes from doing, from direct physical interaction. It's that deep knowledge you gain through sheer presence, like feeling the grain of wood under your fingers, or truly harmonizing with the earth itself.
And our fourth lens, this is a cool one. It combines taste and smell. This is the designer. This archetype is the one who synthesizes the entire feel of an experience, the mood, the nuance, the atmosphere. It's about understanding those subtle, holistic qualities that make something beautiful or true or just impactful.
And that brings us to the very center, to intuition. This is the realm of the visionary. This is the great integrator, the one who connects the dots, not just across different fields, but across what McCawley calls liminal spaces. This is where you make those incredible intuitive leaps and see the future that's trying to emerge.
So how does this all fit together? Well, McCawley brings up that classic old fable of the blind men and the elephant. Each lens we just talked about, the scientist, the poet, the monk, each one gives us a totally valid but totally incomplete piece of the puzzle. Real understanding, seeing the whole elephant, only happens when you can integrate all of those perspectives.
Okay, so that's the big visionary picture. But let's bring it back to reality for a second. We need a bit of a reality check on what AI can actually do right now. And for that, we're going to turn to David Krakauer, the president of the Santa Fe Institute, who makes a crucial distinction.
See, Krakauer argues that the AIs we have today have immense capability. They are phenomenal at super fast lookups and pattern matching. But, and this is a huge but, he says they lack true intelligence. He defines intelligence as the ability to make a really hard problem easy by understanding its underlying principles. It's the difference between just performing a task and actually comprehending it.
And he tells this brilliant little story to make it super clear. An architect asks 2 interns to find a steeple's height. The first intern, like an AI, instantly gives the exact number because they memorized it. That's capability. But the second intern, they look at their own shadow, they use a bit of geometry, and they calculate a pretty good estimate. The architect hires the second one, of course. Why? Because they didn't just recall a fact. They used first principles to solve a brand new problem. That, Krakauer says, is the human skill we have to double down on.
Okay, so keeping that critical difference in mind, capability versus intelligence, let's jump back to Macaulay's vision. If Steve Jobs famously called the computer a bicycle for the mind, McCawley argues that AI can be something way more powerful. It can be a rocket ship for consciousness.
And this rocket ship, this isn't just about crunching data faster. No way. This is about enabling what he calls an empathic leap, a hyperleap across cognitive states. Imagine just collapsing the boundaries between minds so you could directly experience a jazz musician's flow state or instantly grasp a physicist's most complex insight as if it were your own.
Now, I know this sounds like something straight out of science fiction, right? But get this. Neuroscientists have identified that humans have at least 34 distinct senses, way more than the 5 we always talk about. Our capacity for perception is already so much wider than we think. We might have the latent ability to echolocate like a bat, or sense the world in ways we can't even imagine yet.
So Macaulay's biggest, most out there idea to make this happen is something he calls the cognitive holiday. Think of it as a shared virtual space. It's not just VR, it's a platform for literally rewiring our brains through immersive storytelling and what's called neuroplastic training, letting us practice these empathic leaps and elevate our collective consciousness.
Okay, but a rocket ship like that, how do you build it so it doesn't just, blow up on the launch pad? McCawley brings this huge vision right back down to earth. He addresses the very real challenges of building a benevolent AI in a world that's already full of cognitive overload and social dysfunction.
His answer is an AI he calls a machine of loving grace. And I love that name. This isn't some AI overlord, it's a benevolent partner. It would act as a guardian, thinking 7 generations into the future. It would be a cognitive compass, translating overwhelming data into things we can actually understand and act on. It would encourage unifying art, and it would gently guide us toward our better angels.
And really, this is the bottom line. Macawley is so clear about this. This technology demands our deep involvement. Because a rocket ship with no moral compass is just a weapon. And intelligence without wisdom, well, that just leads to chaos.
So, as we're standing on the edge of this incredible new world, the whole challenge kind of flips on his head. We've spent so much time and energy asking what AI is going to become. But Macawley forces us to look in the mirror. The real question, the much harder question, is what will we choose to become?
Look, the technology is already here. It's accelerating faster than we can keep up. The rocket ship is basically on the launch pad, ready to go. So the real choice, the one facing all of us, is this. Are we going to be passive passengers, just along for the ride, or are we going to step up, take the controls, and be the guiding voice in the cockpit, steering us toward a future that is not just more intelligent, but profoundly, deeply more human?